Okay, können wir? So, neben mir sitzt Jimmy Somerville sowie Richard Coles von The Communards. Der ist natürlich nicht zu übersehen und auf der Bühne natürlich auch nicht zu überhören. Aber der ist nicht nur eine gute Sänger, es gibt eine Menge, was man über diese Gruppe sagen sollte. Und wir wollen jetzt in einem kurzen Interview das versuchen zu machen jetzt. Jimmy, maybe we should start at the beginning of The Communards in that sense. Was it the end of Bronski Beat, or had you thought about the band beforehand?
Richard and I had been working for a short time before I left Bronski Beat. And so when I realised that us two working together was much more comfortable, and it was better for me personally to be working with Richard, I realised then I definitely should leave Bronski Beat. And then we started working together and we formed the Communards some months later.
What was it like at the beginning, Richard? I mean, did you hit it off with him in terms of working immediately?
We've been friends for years, but like we were friends before Bronski Beat. And then at the end of Bronski Beat, I came in to play saxophone with them live. So Jimmy and I were sort of picked up friendship again then. And we've always had a rapport, I suppose, more so than with the other two. I mean, it was quite a natural process, Jimmy leaving Bronski Beat and us forming a permanent band.
You came to Hannover from Paris, and I was saying beforehand that Paris seems to have played an important role in your career as far as the Communards is concerned. When Bronski Beat finished, you disappeared there for a while. What actually happened at that time?
I just went to stay with my friend, and I thought, well, I suppose I could just leave and I could stay at home and it wouldn't be very dramatic. And then I thought, well, I could leave and I could just disappear to Paris, which would make it even more dramatic. So I decided to be very dramatic, so I went to Paris.
And was it a dramatic time for you?
It was more traumatic, yeah, because I was a bit confused, really. And I was disappointed about certain things and disappointed with certain people. And I was just confused about what I wanted to do and where I was going, basically. So going to Paris was good for me because I went to stay with my friend. And I suppose he just spent time with me, just having a holiday and just getting myself together. So it was good.
You say that time was traumatic for you. That brings me on to something else that I wanted to talk about, namely the way that you write. And I wrote down beforehand a couple of quotes that the pair of you made a little while ago with regard to songwriting. No looking. Let's start maybe with you, Richard. You said that a lot of our best songs, the songs of the Communards, arise out of an overwhelming sense of outrage and rebellion. Now, you said that a few months ago. Is that still true, though, for the band?
Yeah. We've always tended to be like that. We always tend to write very spontaneously. And often if something happens to us or if we hear about something that provokes a big kind of response, the way we tend to respond to situations like that is to write a song or something. We're always like, we don't just like sit down and think, oh, well, we've got to write half an album this week or something. We only write when we feel actually motivated to write and spurred on to write, which is one way of doing it, I suppose. So, yeah, it does tend to be provoked by something like that.
Do you find that sometimes you write specifically for a cause? Because, I mean, you've supported various causes, whether it's the gay movement, whether it's the Red Wedge Tour, for instance. Do you think in terms of writing specifically for those events, or do you find that songs occur anyway that somehow have a political content?
They're just a car. We write for our own cause, our bank balances. No, they're just a car.
Okay, well, what you said, and I get this, what you said a while ago with regard to writing songs, I'm sure this to a certain extent was tongue-in-cheek, but I'd like to know what you really feel about this. You said that basically I just write songs about things I'm not allowed to do.
Probably didn't quite put it that way, but you know what these journalists are like. We write songs about things that we're not allowed to do and things that we feel other people aren't allowed to do, and also the things that people should do, I suppose.
Yeah, maybe I could... Like when we say we're sort of motivated to write songs by things happening, it's not just... You don't sort of pick up the newspaper and see that there's been 2,000 people laid off in a factory and think, God, I want to go and write a song. It's also like personal things. In fact, it's always personal things. And, I mean, I think that's what we tend to write. We tend to write about our experience of life and our experience of living in London and our experience of being gay and our experience. It's always out of our experience. It's never really... We're not at all kind of analytical or schematic or anything like that. And that's another reason why we don't write songs for causes. I mean, they have to kind of arise with some sort of honesty and some spontaneity. I mean, we couldn't just sit down and write songs to order, I don't think.
What about the band? I mean, you've got a really interesting band together. How did you put that band together?
Well, firstly, Sarah Jane, the girl with all the raya, she was a friend of Richard's. They went to drama school together. And then the string section we had worked with on our very first video, so we got to know them. And then Joe Pretzel was a friend of Sheila Smith, who was our support in Britain. And then June Richards worked with June Miles Kingston, the drummer, before as well. And also it's better to work with women. Men in the music industry are too macho, and they're all on ego trips.
But it obviously gives you more flexibility too when it comes to playing certain songs live, and the arrangements as well, right?
Yeah, we wanted as big a lineup as we possibly could have. In fact, originally we planned for 15, but we couldn't afford it. So we cut it down to a very meagre 10. But we've always intended to concentrate as much as possible on live work, because if you have, you play a lot live and you build up a live following, you're not all of a sudden dependent on things like radio play and TV coverage and things like that. We were concerned to have a live career and everything. And also they were just people we'd wanted to work with for a long time. And so it just sort of became a priority.
You say you'd like to have worked with 15 people. I mean, imagining that you could do exactly what you wanted, do you think the music would sound very different if you could afford to do all of these plans that you have?
It'd be an orchestra.
I mean, it could be fuller. But I mean, we're quite happy with what we've got. I mean, everyone works so well together, and we're pleased with the way that we can all play off each other and things like that. But we're quite happy, but it'd be great to have more.
I think we've been incredibly lucky, really, because it's the first time we've got a band together, and we just really did hit on the right combination. And the crew as well. We're just as careful over the crew as well about making sure we're working with people who we want to work with and who have some kind of identification with what we do and are sympathetic. And it's important. It does make a big difference.
Okay, fine. Thank you very much, the pair of you. Painless.